Good morning from Fast Company. Here's our daily look into what's driving today's creative business leaders. Before most of America pours its first cup of coffee, millions of workers are already hours into their shifts, and they're tired. Overnight warehouse workers are packing orders. Early morning bus drivers are taking kids to school. ER nurses are handing off to the day team at 7 a.m. These workers aren't just fatigued for long hours. Many are living with a real diagnosable medical condition that goes unrecognized and untreated, sometimes for years. And the cost of that gap doesn't stay invisible forever. Shift work sleep disorder, or SWSD, affects up to 40% of U.S. shift workers. It can cause persistent insomnia, chronic fatigue, and impaired concentration. If left untreated, the effects compound, including increased risk of depression, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Workplace consequences track a similar arc. Fatigued workers have higher rates of absenteeism, more on-the-job errors, and greater injury risk. For industries like logistics, healthcare, and transportation, where precision and reliability are non-negotiable, this is a meaningful operational problem with a real dollar figure attached. Luckily, SWSD, along with other sleep disorders, is treatable. The access gap is the problem. Why it goes undiagnosed? Getting diagnosed with a sleep disorder requires navigating a system that was never built for hourly workers. The standard diagnostic pathway is an overnight polysomnography, or PSG, study at a sleep clinic. These studies require a patient to arrive at a facility during hours that are fundamentally incompatible with a night shift schedule. With one trained sleep specialist for every 43,000 Americans, the wait time for a referral and initial appointment can take months. At every step, the employee without scheduling flexibility faces an accessibility issue that salaried counterparts do not. This isn't just a healthcare access problem. It's a structural mismatch between industries with a heavy concentration of sleep disorders and limitations within our care system. The result is a large, diagnosable, treatable population cycling through impaired work performances, fatigue, and eventually preventable chronic illness, without ever receiving the intervention that could break the cycle. The business case is straightforward. Employers in logistics, healthcare, transportation, and retail are sitting on an under-recognized liability. Workers living with untreated SWSD aren't an abstraction. They're the overnight warehouse team processing next-day orders, the nurses working back-to-back 12-hour shifts, the long-haul drivers whose alertness is a matter of public safety. The numbers are concrete. According to a 2016 study conducted by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, the annual economic burden of undiagnosed sleep apnea among U.S. adults is about $150 billion, including $87 billion in lost productivity, $26 billion in motor vehicle accidents, and $6.5 billion in workplace accidents. Individual employees with untreated sleep apnea generate an estimated $3,000 more per year in healthcare costs, according to the National Safety Council. Each untreated case can also lead to associated risks like cardiovascular events, diabetes, and mental health crises. These are not hypothetical. They show up in claims data. The counter-argument that employees won't engage with sleep health programs underestimates what happens when friction is removed. An at-home sleep study removes the scheduling barriers that make clinic-based pathways inaccessible to night shift workers in the first place. For a population that can't clear an evening for an overnight lab study, that's not a convenience. It's the difference between getting diagnosed and not. What employers can do now. The tools exist. What's largely missing is employers deciding to deploy them. First, normalize screening. Routine sleep health screening should be offered as part of annual wellness programs or onboarding. This can catch the workers who would never self-refer. SWSD symptoms aren't always obvious. Many workers believe chronic fatigue is a casualty of their work and don't register it as a medical problem. Low-friction screening changes this. Second, update benefits design. Covering at-home diagnostics and digital care pathways isn't a concession to convenience. It's the only way to make sleep medicine accessible to a population that can't navigate the traditional system. Third, treat it as a retention play, not just a wellness perk. In industries with persistent labor shortages and high turnover, benefits that demonstrably improve quality of life matter. Workers notice when their employer invests in their health in ways that actually make an impact. This is a differentiator in a tight labor market. The stakes. The workers driving buses in the dark and stocking shelves before sunrise aren't exhausted by choice. They're exhausted because the system hasn't prioritized making sleep health care accessible. A treatable condition is going undiagnosed in millions of people whose jobs keep the rest of society functioning. The diagnostic tools exist, and the science supports them. What's needed now is the will to use them. That's all today from Fast Company. Talk to you tomorrow.
Spoken Layer.